This is Tessa Robinson with PCSgrades. I'm here with the incredible Geer, our
Thank you.
ACI expert, to talk to you today about all things transporting vehicles and all the amazing things that ACI does for our military community, especially. So, Jesse, first question, always my favorite, super softball. Tell us about yourself and ACI.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So about ACI, I'll start there and then I'll kind of weave myself in. But ACI Transport, we are a logistics broker. We deal with finished vehicles primarily, but we do general freight as well. The company's been around since December of 2015, so this is our 7th year of business. So as far as the industry is concerned, still a pretty young company, but we do quite a bit of moving vehicles. We've done about 300,000 VINs at this point, and that number just continues to grow. We do more and more every year. So a lot of what we stand for, though, in the industry that's pretty different, I think, is there's a lot of brokerages that kind of shroud some things and maybe make it hard to trust. And so we really wanted to bring that back in, so much so that ACI actually stands for adaptability, communication, and integrity, because those were the big things that we felt like maybe the industry was missing. So we wanted to bring those in, make sure that those were really well received and so at the forefront that we named the company after it. My two business partners, Aaron Friedman and Gary Horton, actually started the company. It incorporated December of 15, and then I came on very quickly after in January and have been with the company ever since. So as far as myself, I actually have a background in event logistics and used to work for hotels and University of Michigan and a few other locations, but logistics are logistics. And so I came in to help the team with sales and maybe some strategy as well. We've grown ever since. We pretty much doubled every year, with the exception of maybe 2020. As far as what I do for the company now, I'm our chief quality officer, and basically I step into a role, make sure everything's going really well, make any improvements we need to make consistent processes, and then go ahead and hand those things back off. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades and very well positioned to kind of speak to whatever the questions may be for the team.
Well, customer service is customer service, no matter what industry you're in. So I'm sure a lot of that from hoteling translates to shipping vehicles. Does ACI ship cars nationwide? Do you also ship overseas? I know you're based out of Michigan, correct?
We are based out of Michigan, yeah, but we are a nationwide provider, and we actually do some cross-border work as well for Canada and Mexico if there was a need there. We don't do intra Canada or Mexico at the moment. Those are some different licensing, and so it's just not a thing we're doing yet. And then as far as international, we can absolutely help individuals get their vehicle to a port or wherever that may need to go, but that's usually where we hand it off. We're happy to suggest freight forwarders and some other folks that we've worked with to do international moves, but isn't something that we specialize in, and so we'd rather not try to take ourselves and insert ourselves and give you a subpar product. So we handle the nationwide transport and, like I said, that cross-border work primarily.
Absolutely. Now, you've been doing this a while now. What do you think
Yes.
a customer should look for in an auto transport company?
Yeah, I mean, there's several. And so I think one of the big things is to understand first and foremost, what are you looking to achieve? And ultimately, if you're simply trying to move a vehicle from point A to point B, there are ways to do that for an inexpensive amount, but you're going to be managing those people individually. So I think it's really important to understand how hands-on do you want to be, and understand really what it is you're looking for. But the things that are true across all of these styles of moving are, you want to make sure somebody's going to give you good service. Just like you mentioned, any industry, if you're not getting good service, that should be a red flag to you. Additionally, there's several websites and things of that nature that will simply sell your data as a lead. And so you may get hit by 9, 10, 11 companies all giving you similar statements. And so things to look for are not having any hidden fees. Are there any fees that you can get hit with after your quote? Right? Any surprises? Making sure that companies are properly insured and can afford to cover your vehicle. God forbid something does happen to the vehicle in transit. And those are the big ones, and really just using your gut. I mean, going with the cheapest option often is you're going to get what you pay for. So, if you want somebody to show up and not give you much indication or be underinsured, yeah, you can do it cheap. But do you want to do that? That's the real question.
Right. It's like toilet paper. They're not all created equal.
That's right. We are not the single ply option here.
Exactly. You're the Cottonelle of auto transport.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes, as you know, military moves happen quickly. How soon do I need to book an auto transport once I have orders?
Yeah. So, actually, we've gotten caught probably being too fast for some of our clients before, where, if we give you a quote and you say, yes, we're already moving the car and we might have a driver tomorrow. So we move very fast. We're used to moving fast. And in fact, we kind of made a career of it. In fact, that's a lot of our value pitch for our business to business people, as well as to say, hey, when you give it to us, we're not going to sit on this for very long. So just understand that you need to let us know when it's ready. But then kind of looking at like the length of time, as long as you give me about, typically we pick up within 72 hours, so about 3 to 4 days, and deliver depending on the mileage, we go straight through, right? So we're not talking about adding other cars and sending it out. So it just depends on mileage for delivery. But as far as pickup is concerned, or when you're getting that quote, I actually only guarantee my quotes for 2 weeks because diesel prices could change overnight. Weather could come in, right? So we'll always quote when we get it. But if we know that you're not moving your vehicle until, say, October, we'll re-quote it as we get closer, and we'll do that about 2 weeks out. So short, not a problem. We can, I probably can't move it same day, but if you can give me about 3 days, that's more than enough.
Okay. That, first of all, that blows my mind because nothing in the military happens quickly. So that's very exciting. But so let's say I get orders, today that we are moving in October. I can go ahead and book it now, but the price might change. Is that
Correct.
Okay.
And so typically what we'll do is we'll give you a range, an idea. We'll tell you today's dollars, right? So we're thinking, hey, maybe it's between 1,000 and 1,100, and we'll firm it up when we get closer. So that's typically the flow. But yeah, you don't need to hold on to it. If you know that you're getting PCS or you're going to move on your own accord and you're going to do that in October, yeah, we can start talking about it now. We'll make sure that we help you be on top of it. And as we get closer, somebody will reach back out to you as well.
That's awesome. Because I know that in this lifestyle, folks love a plan. They're planners. They like to have all their ducks in a row. So knowing that you can book ahead of time is really amazing. And then also recognizing that the military doesn't care what your plans are. They often tell you, hey, you have 72 hours. So the flexibility is amazing too. So
absolutely.
On both. What are some of the advantages to having an auto transport company move your car instead of hitching to your U-Haul or trying to do it by yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like I said, a lot of that comes down to where's the value. And I think one of the bigger values, especially when maybe you're already making the trip and you could just hitch it, is we take on liability. So when we take your vehicle, if something happens to that vehicle while we are sort of the custodians of it, we are going to handle that. It's going to be our insurance that takes care of that. So there is an amount of kind of handing off liability, letting us take care of that asset. Whereas if it's on the back and for some reason you have an issue with your hitch or a weld comes loose, and whatever happens to that car, and now that's on you on your own. So that's, I think, one of the biggest values. The other thing is just, you're going to put some wear and tear. Let's say you bumper pull the thing as opposed to putting it on a trailer. You're still putting wear and tear on those bearings and those wheels and other things of that nature. So realistically, the value is in peace of mind, right? It's in the ability to say, okay, I handed this off. This is one less thing for me to deal with while I move my family or myself across the country or wherever it may be. If I'm going a short distance, maybe that U-Haul's okay. If I'm going over a couple 100 miles, if it's going to take me more than a day, I don't want it to sit in the parking lot of the motel or the hotel or wherever I stopped, right? That seems dangerous. So it's about releasing that liability, adding some relaxation to the fact that that this asset that is probably your second most expensive asset is being handled for you and insured for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything special I need to do to prepare my car for a move? Are there different preparations needed if I'm going out of the country?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have a whole FAQ. If anyone did want to engage, we have a number of things that you can read. But just to give you a rough idea, preparing a vehicle means basically getting it ready to be transported. So things that need to be done. You want to make sure your windows are in proper working order, because if you're doing open car haulers, it will be subject to rain and snow. You don't want your car full of water. You're going to want to make sure to clean it so you can do a proper condition report. If you can't see the scratch, when it gets there, you still can't see the scratch. That's, you want to make sure that those things are noted. So if there is any kind of condition, go ahead and get it washed, be ready to go with that. Any fluid leaks, things like that need to just get buttoned up. But then the things that you maybe don't think about, which are, if you have any automatic toll tags or parking tags, if these drivers go through these tolls and your tag gets marked, you might lose some money, and we don't want you to do that. So go ahead and pull those things out, or disable them if you can. Any kind of aftermarket alarms we want to go ahead and take off. And then additionally, try not to have a full tank of gas, because we want to try and keep weight down. So we say about 1/3 of a tank to 1/4 of a tank is preferred. It'll just help reduce the weight for the driver and have a little less problems, a little less wear and tear on their trailer. It's really kind of a quality of life thing for us. And then any wraps, if you have something that you want to wrap the car in, do that before they get there, okay? Because they're not going to do that for you, but they're happy to take it wrapped and get that taken care of for you.
Okay, and is there anything I need to do differently if I'm going, let's say, to Mexico or to Canada?
Yeah, I mean, and again, you may have to work with a forwarder. Let's say if you're moving to Mexico, or I'll speak more about Canada because I have a little more experience with that part of it. If you're going to be staying there for some time, you might need to go and get your speedometer changed over. So I know that there's kilometers per hour on there, but when you start to import vehicles, there are some other laws there. You have PAPS numbers. So you might need to work with a forwarder or an importer if you're going to be there for a long period of time. But we can help you navigate that. I mean, every move's a little bit of a, what's the use case? How long are you there? So there's a lot of things that can get in that for international, and we'll do our best to help, or at least point you in the right direction. Because again, we're not necessarily doing the international part of the shipping, but we do have some partners and some people we can maybe point you to. Same thing with like going to Hawaii, right? We work with some partners on a boat. So there's a couple extra steps, but I think if I was going to add one other thing, you want to make sure to take your personal items out of the vehicle, and don't plan on like moving the stuff in your personal vehicle, because the driver and the carrier are not going to be liable for those items. Right. And you're just adding weight. So I usually tell people a couple of moving boxes is okay, as long as it's like maybe throw in your spices or something, blankets, things that don't matter as much. Because if something happens to them, they're not liable for that. They're liable for the vehicle, but not what's in it. So just be careful. Those are the important ones.
Okay, awesome. And what should I be able to track my car while it's being transported? I know, I can look and see if Domino's has put my pizza in the oven, or if they're adding the toppings now. Is that anything that ACI offers?
Yeah, absolutely. And so and any reputable company should have this for you in some way or another. Now we offer GPS tracking, and we require a mobile app for our personally owned vehicle moves. But occasionally things do happen, or they're in bad cell service areas, and so we can't always rely on that. But we have a dedicated team of operations folks here, because this is all we do, and they will make phone calls, track it down manually. We'll actually get a human on the phone and say, hey, where are you right now? And we do that twice a day on anything that's active. So on top of having GPS tracking and having the ability to show you those maps, we also are making those phone calls, pulling notes from human beings by human beings. And so even if we can't show you a ping on a map, we can at least tell you, hey, this is the update that we've gotten from the driver. We're going to do our best to verify that as soon as we can. And if nothing else, we're going to be with you every step of the way. Things do happen, but generally speaking, that's part of the benefit of being with a broker, is that, let's say, God forbid, something happens to the driver and the truck breaks down, I might be able to send another driver there and finish it for you. And you don't have that kind of resource or time to be doing those things while you're moving.
Right. And pizza certainly doesn't do that. So
Right. Yeah, right. We're not going to call Little Caesars to get you another pizza.
no.
Yeah.
What should I do if, God forbid, my vehicle is damaged during a move?
Yeah. So it's pretty low percentage of moves for us. And hopefully that's true for most companies. But I think ultimately the most important thing is to note that on your condition report, which sometimes gets interchanged with the word BOL or bill of lading. And you just want to make sure that you note those damages before you sign. So if somebody says, hey, sign it and then we'll do condition and later, we're not doing that, right? Same thing where you're working through us. So we want to make sure that we are informed ASAP. So write down that condition, go ahead and let your salesperson know, because you're going to have a dedicated salesperson anytime you work with us. So let them know, hey, this damage occurred. The sooner that happens, the easier it is for us, and we'll help walk you through that process. We also have in-house counsel here who's going to take over. And if we need to deal with subrogation with the driver, that's on us to do. So we'll take care of you, and then we'll deal with the rest of it afterwards. So just make those notes on the condition report, let your salesperson know, and we'll pretty much take over from there.
That's awesome. Seems like a pretty transparent process. What should military and veteran families consider when transporting their car? Is there anything else that they need to keep in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing in my mind is that I think most people assume that if they're going to drive the vehicle themselves, it's going to be cheaper, right? And that might be true on the surface, but when we really break it down, if you really think about transporting your vehicle, and let's just assume that you don't have to fly somewhere, right? That means if you had to fly back to the old base, pick up your car, you've got the cost of the flight in there. But outside of that, let's just say we have a 1,500-mile move. Our car gets 30 miles to the gallon. Gas is $3 a gallon, and we can only do 60 miles an hour for 6 hours a day, right? And I believe that's the military standard for what it gets reimbursed. So that's 10 cents a mile in gas alone. So we're talking $150 in gas alone for that 1,500-mile move. It's going to actually take you 4+ days to move. We're talking 25 hours of driving. So we're talking like a lot. We're talking a lot of driving. We're talking about probably close to $500 in lodging. We're talking about an additional probably 40 cents of wear and tear that you're just putting on your vehicle, which obviously has a cost. And so when you really add it up, when you think about all of the costs that go into moving 1,500 miles, it's not just $150 of gas. You're talking like over $1,000 between lodging, depreciation on your car, any oil changes you have to do. So, and you still have to go do the work and miss out on work. And if you don't have PTO, there's a lot of hidden costs in just driving your car. And again, that liability issue, if a rock hits your windshield, you're paying for that. So for me personally, and I understand that I'm a little biased, right? But I would rather pay double and sit at home. So for me, that's one big thing. And it's just a lot of headache. And, if you have multiple vehicles, we can actually potentially take them all at the same time, whereas you're driving them. So those are the biggest things, in my opinion, to consider. But then ultimately, all the other stuff we talked about. Make sure you collect a good vendor partner that make sure you're really working with quality folks, even if you're not using us, right? Just really understand how important that asset is to you, and would you really want to get your cheapest option, right? And so really think through, is it worth the value of that extra couple $100 to do it yourself?
1,000%. The kids and I drive to Kansas from Virginia every year, which is about 20 hours. And I can tell you, you can plan on $1 million in snacks, at least $1 million for a trip. And then that grows exponentially with as many kids as you have. So right. Right. There's so many hidden costs with doing a road trip that you just do not think about. What do you think? And I think you've spoken to it a little bit, but let's really dial it in of what sets ACI apart from other auto transport brands.
Yeah. And again, so again, our core values of adaptability, communication, integrity, sort of, we kind of joke about it being a compass rose, where it's sort of in between each of those is our uniques and what makes us truly different. which is transparency, which thank you for highlighting. You pretty much did my job for me. Thank you.
I didn't even know that yet.
Right? Effective responsiveness, because again, it's not about just being responsive. I can respond to you in 15 minutes, but if I'm not doing anything, what's the point, right? So it's about being effective with our responsiveness, and then hyper friendly and memorable service. Like you could just go get your car moved with anybody, but did it calm you down or ramp you up? Was it really actually even enjoyable? It's kind of funny to think that like paying money to a vendor is enjoyable. So maybe we're not quite getting there, but we can at least be hyper friendly and memorable, and so that you don't hate the experience. And I think that those are truly unique. I mean, there's plenty of people that will be quick or crass or cheaper or whatever the case may be, and they'll get the job done. But we're trying to be a scalpel and not a hammer. And so that's really, I think, one of the bigger differences for us, is that we're trying to be really effective, do the thing well, and make you feel good about it. And so, if things happen and things do happen, we're going to tell you whether it's bad news or not. And generally speaking, it's going to be more good news than bad news. So, ultimately, there are a lot of options to transport, but do you enjoy the vendor you picked? And so that's where I think that's what sets us apart, is honestly the human beings we have. We're a tight-knit team. We're a highly effective team of just under 40 people. And I think our success in the industry shows that in quite a short time.
Absolutely. You guys are like the Chick-fil-A of car transport.
But we'll work on Sunday too. Yeah.
Not in Domino's. Man, I must be hungry.
Yeah, right.
And everybody's favorite question, Jesse, before we wrap up. Does ACI offer a discount to service members and veterans?
Yes, we do. So we actually have, and if you're actually on the PCS website, you can actually go to our link and it will take you directly to that landing page, and it will actually show you the discount right on our calculator. Just keep in mind the calculator is a rough estimate. You'll want to talk to a salesperson to really dial it in, but it'll show you right on there. We offer a 10% discount for active duty, veteran, reservists, and military dependents. So we want to make sure that help take care of you. We understand that you do get some reimbursement, but we want to help in the case that you decide to use a transport option.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today and your
thank you,
and your passion about auto transport. It's certainly a much needed resource for military families. So appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be here with us today. No, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to talking to your team more, and then everybody else that might hear about us through your team. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to be a resource directly. Absolutely.